The baby was just born when his grandfather wanted to kill him because prophecies revealed that the child might be the reincarnation of Asaha Doji, the strongest Onmyoji from 1,000 years ago. To prevent Doji from destroying the world, the grandfather felt compelled to kill his own grandson. However, the next second, all the Shikigami summoned by the grandfather were destroyed. The newborn's ability to summon Shikigami confirmed he was indeed Doji. The father immediately called upon the mountain god to intervene. But even the mountain god could not withstand a single attack from Doji's Shikigami. The Shikigami picked up the baby and prepared to leave. The mother was extremely anxious, but could do nothing as she was still pregnant with another child. Doji believed that his brother would follow in his footsteps and pursue the path to becoming the Shaman King. When the time came, he planned to return, consume his brother, and acquire greater power to destroy the world. People cannot escape their fate. With his own ability, the grandfather could not oppose Doji and had to place his hopes on his other grandson. He believed this child had the same potential as Doji, but he never imagined that the family's hereditary Shikigami techniques would be beyond the grasp of his grandson, Asakura Yo. Yo lacked the talent of an Onmyoji and ambition. His biggest dream was to be an idle layabout. Left with no choice, the grandfather revealed a secret. The world was inhabited by humans, spirits, and ghosts. Many, like the Asakura family, could communicate with ghosts and were known as shamans. All things in the world were under the control of the Spirit King, or God. To prevent humanity's extinction, God communicated with a representative of the shamans periodically to guide human development. This representative was the Shaman King. Upon hearing this, Yo decided he wanted to become the Shaman King, amusingly, just to continue his lazy lifestyle. Thus, Yo embarked on a journey of training to find his guardian ghost, transferring to Funbari Hill School. There, he met his classmate Manta, who had never seen a shaman. Yo's summoned ghost frightened Manta. A ghost dressed as a samurai named Amidamaru caught Yo's attention. His tombstone revealed his name. Yo approached Manta to learn more about Amidamaru, a famous samurai from 600 years ago, whose relics were kept in the local museum. At the museum, Yo encountered the ghost attached to Amidamaru's sword, Mosuke, and hoped Mosuke would share Amidamaru's story. Meanwhile, Manta went to the cemetery to find Yo. Unexpectedly, a gang had taken over the cemetery as their hangout. The gang leader, Ryunosuke, was extremely arrogant, even disrespecting the once notorious Amidamaru by smashing his tombstone with a single strike. Unfortunately, Manta was discovered and beaten up by Ryunosuke. Seeing his friend bullied, Yo could not stand by. But Ryunosuke was formidable. Could Yo really defeat them? He is Amidamaru, a warrior who killed countless people 600 years ago. Now, seeking revenge, he can only transform into a spirit orb and fuse with Shaman Yo. Ryunosuke, experienced in street life, wasn't one to be easily intimidated by a young newcomer. He ordered his underlings to attack first. Yo immediately absorbed the spirit orb into his body, entering the soul integration form. In this fused mode, Yo's swordsmanship was divine, swiftly defeating 2 gang members with a single move. This is the power of a shaman, displaying a ghost's abilities in one's own body. Seeing his men defeated, Ryunosuke decided to step in himself. However, Yo dodged Ryunosuke's attack and then sliced off his hair. Ryunosuke's minions quickly fled with him. Many powerful ghosts linger in the world, attached to the living. Amidamaru is one of them. To become the Shaman King, Yo hopes to partner with him, but Amidamaru refuses. He has waited 600 years for his close friend Mosuke, with whom he once served the same master. However, their master ordered Amidamaru to kill Mosuke to prevent him from crafting a superior weapon. Amidamaru would never harm his friend, and Mosuke vowed to create the finest sword for him. Unbeknownst to Amidamaru, Mosuke was killed by others sent by their master. Ignorant of the truth, Amidamaru waited for 600 years, even fighting off thousands to stay at the promised meeting place, eventually dying from exhaustion after killing 1,000 men. Now, using his abilities, Yo fuses with Mosuke to forge a new sword, Harusame, in a blacksmith shop for Amidamaru. Mosuke has already moved on to the underworld. Learning that his friend fulfilled his promise, Amidamaru resolves his feelings. Grateful to Yo, he decides to help him become the Shaman King before returning to the underworld himself. Yo thus gains his first guardian ghost. All this is witnessed by a mysterious boy watching from a distance, who soon meets Yo again, this time while he is being attacked by a gang. Facing an oncoming car, the boy remained calm. He pulled out a golden token and summoned the ghost, Basin. After fusing with Basin, he sliced the car in half with a single strike. Amidamaru and others were stunned by this action. The boy, showing no sign of stopping, prepared to finish off the troublemakers completely. However, Yo intervened, stating that killing people indiscriminately is unacceptable for a shaman. The boy introduced himself as Tao Ren, a future contender for Shaman King. He argued that such scum wasted resources and cleansing the world was his mission. He also demanded Yo hand over Amidamaru, interested in the powerful spirit. Yo, having bonded with Amidamaru as friends, refused. Ren mocked this, claiming Yo couldn't harness Amidamaru's full potential. Both seeing each other unfavorably, they entered the soul integration form. Ren's guardian ghost was skilled in swordplay. He took advantage of Yo's dodging to launch a deadly attack, but Yo barely blocked it. Though Ren was slightly surprised, he considered it merely a warm-up. He then activated 100% fusion, unleashing his full power in a devastating attack that defeated Yo. This demonstrated the advanced form of soul integration. When two souls coexist in one body, conflict can arise. In Ren's view, seeing a ghost as a friend prevents full control, making 100% possession unattainable. Aware of the significant gap in strength between himself and Ren, Yo decides to send Amidamaru to the afterlife, unwilling to let his friend fall into someone like Ren's hands. Enraged, Ren prepares to kill Yo, but Amidamaru shields Yo with his body, determined to protect him from any harm. Ren, at 100% fusion, charges at Yo again, but unexpectedly, his lethal attack is caught single-handedly by Yo. Yo, too, has achieved 100% fusion. He explains to a bewildered Ren that suppressing a guardian ghost isn't necessary. A true connection of hearts can also reach 100% fusion. Until the very end, Ren couldn't understand how someone who treated ghosts as friends could have the same potential to become the Shaman King as himself. After a devastating defeat, Yo also collapsed from exhaustion and woke up in the hospital. Besides Amidamaru and Manta, a cute girl appeared at the door. Manta, unaware of the trouble he was stirring, demanded to know who she was. The girl, Anna, was a shamaness adopted by Yo's grandmother, raised as Yo's betrothed. At just 13, she already possessed formidable powers. As the prospective Shaman King's wife, Anna had traveled far to ensure her fiancé intensified his training. From the recent battle, it was evident that Yo was too weak, unable to defeat even Tao Ren, let alone the stronger competitors soon to arrive from around the world. Yo had never loved school as much as he did now, especially because Anna had been pushing him hard these past few days. Just when he thought he could find peace in a classroom without Anna, she surprised him by transferring to his school. To unwind, they went to the cinema to watch a movie starring the famous action star Lee Piran, known for his explosive martial arts style and unfortunate untimely death, with his body never found. As they were engrossed in Piran's past, an unwelcome guest appeared. Tao Ren's sister, Tao Jun. She came to claim Amidamaru for Ren, summoning a zombie using a talisman. Shockingly, the zombie was Lee Piran, turned into a zombie by Jun's parents as a gift to her. Yo was furious at such cruelty, killing an innocent for power. He initiated soul integration, ready to confront Jun, but Piran knocked Yo down with a single move. Yo was powerless against Piran's strength. As Yo refused to hand over Amidamaru, Jun instructed Piran to use his finishing moves, battering Yo severely. However, Yo stood up again, believing that while Jun could control Piran's body, she could never control his spirit. Hearing Yo's words, Piran shed tears, but helplessly bound to Jun's commands, he continued his assault on Yo. To help Yo become stronger, Anna chose not to intervene. However, Manta couldn't stand by and ran to find a suitable weapon for Yo. He happened upon Ryunosuke, who, after venting his frustration on Manta, agreed to lend his wooden sword. As a warrior, one's true strength is realized only with a sword in hand. Grateful to Manta, Yo and Amidamaru regained their fighting spirit. They dodged Pyron's attacks and destroyed the talisman on his head, freeing his sealed consciousness. Realizing he had been turned into a monstrous form by the Tao family, Pyron was consumed with rage and sought revenge on Jun. However, as he was about to strike, Yo stopped him. He urged Pyron to stay calm, explaining that killing Jun wouldn't change the past. Fuming, Pyron unleashed his anger on Yo, while Jun, realizing no one could match Pyron in his current state, ceased resisting. Anna, however, believed even the mighty Pyron had someone he feared. Jun remembered Pyron had a master, Shaman. Using her shamanic skills, Anna gathered the scattered soul of Master Shaman. After Yo disengaged from the fusion, Anna attached Shaman's soul to Yo. The boy was possessed by the ghost of the martial arts master Shaman. Despite his shaky appearance, it seemed unlikely he could withstand a strike from Pyron. However, facing Pyron's fierce attacks, Shaman easily dodged them and quickly identified weaknesses in Pyron's techniques, true to his status as a martial arts grandmaster. Shaman saw that his disciple had been blinded by hatred and had forgotten the true purpose of martial arts, which is to reach a state of ultimate freedom. Using Yo's body, Shaman executed his signature move from his lifetime. This punch not only knocked down Pyron, but also released the talisman inside him, freeing his soul. Now, Pyron appeared calm and returned to his living form. Jun, overwhelmed by these events, felt she could no longer stay. Just then, Pyron stopped her. As a martial arts enthusiast, Pyron was not ready to follow his master into the afterlife. He wanted to further refine the martial arts techniques he had been working on before his death. The zombie body created by the Tao family provided the perfect vessel for his continued training. Therefore, he asked Jun to help him with his practice. Elsewhere, Ryunosuke, having located a secret base, encountered another child who was also someone he shouldn't have messed with. Then he fell in love at first sight with a girl named Anna. Following Anna home, he was shocked to discover that she was living with the boy who had previously beaten him up. The large house was rented by Anna for just $50, which surprised Manta on his first visit. Of course, the rent was so low for a reason. The house was crowded, but that didn't matter to a shaman. Having lost both love and dignity, Ryunosuke no longer had the will to live. At that moment, a sinister figure appeared behind him, offering to help him defeat Yo by using his body. The possessed Ryunosuke then ordered his subordinates to steal Amidamaru's sword, Harusame, from the museum. Manta accidentally witnessed this and hurried to report it, but was intercepted by Ryunosuke on the way. Meanwhile, Yo, who was using the restroom, suddenly had a bad feeling that Manta might be in danger. Just as everyone was preparing to go rescue him, Ryunosuke confronted them. Anna immediately realized that he was possessed by an evil spirit. This man was possessed by the ghost of Tokagero, a spirit from 600 years ago seeking revenge on Amidamaru, who had killed him. Amidamaru didn't remember him, but vowed to protect Manta if Tokagero dared to harm him. Enraged, Tokagero prepared to attack Manta. Yo initiated soul integration, but Tokagero was waiting for this moment. Fortunately, Yo dodged the fatal strike, though he was shocked to see Amidamaru's beloved sword, Harusame, now in Tokagero's hands. The sword was forged by Mosuke from his father's relics. Though it pained him, Amidamaru, seeing Manta in danger, resolved to break Harusame using a deadly technique in coordination with Yo. Tokagero was surprised Amidamaru would break a sword forged by a friend, but Amidamaru understood that what Mosuke truly gave him was not the sword, but the resolve to sacrifice everything for a friend. Yo urged Tokagero to surrender, but he stubbornly continued his attack on Manta. Even Ryunosuke's subordinates couldn't stand it anymore, shocked that their former leader had turned into such a scoundrel. As the situation worsened, Tokagero took Ryunosuke hostage. Anna challenged Tokagero to act, promising to obliterate him once his possession ended. Yo, unwilling to see anyone hurt, offered himself in exchange for Ryunosuke. Tokagero accused Yo of false kindness and invaded his body without hesitation. Unexpectedly, instead of killing Yo, Tokagero began to cry, touched because, besides his mother, only Yo truly wanted to protect him. Tokagero lamented that if he had such companions earlier, he wouldn't have suffered so much. The crisis was resolved through sincerity, but the real challenges were just beginning. A brilliant meteor streaked across the sky, announcing the beginning of the Shaman King tournament as decreed by the Supreme Spirit King. At this time, top shamans from around the world had gathered in Tokyo, including the seasoned siblings Jun and Ren. However, before Yo could face them again, he needed to defeat the mysterious man before him. This man was a descendant of the Patch tribe and possessed 5 nature spirits, each with 500 years of cultivation. Silva, the man, stated that if Yo could injure him within 10 minutes, Yo would earn a ticket to the Shaman King tournament. Knowing the man's background, Yo quickly completed soul integration with Amidamaru and launched a deadly attack on Silva, but Silva easily blocked his attack. Silva explained that Silver Shield represents defense, Silver Horn represents attack, Silver Tail represents speed, Silver Rod represents control, and Silver Wing represents flight. He has the power to materialize all these spirits. Yo realized that physical attacks were ineffective against Silva, so he decided to try a spiritual attack instead. He threw Amidamaru at Silva, but it was futile. Following Anna's example, Yo then recited a soul-purifying chant, which had no effect on Silva, but nearly purified Amidamaru instead. Amused, Silva gave a hint. His spirits were attached to specific pieces of his equipment. Yo understood that ghost materialization required an attribute-matching medium, leading to his new battle form, Oversoul. With Yo understanding how to use it, both were now on equal footing. Silva merged his spirits into his ultimate Oversoul totem cannon. If Yo could withstand this attack, he would pass the test. Failure meant death. After the smoke cleared, Silva was unharmed, while Yo had collapsed from exhaustion. Unexpectedly, Silva declared Yo had passed because he not only survived, but also cut off his own headband. Silva handed the Shaman King tournament pass to Yo. The Oracle Bell represents the Spirit King's will, and all match arrangements would be communicated through it. The ultimate victor would also receive power bestowed by the Spirit King. This boy is a descendant of wolves and gods, an Ainu tribe shaman named Horohoro, and Yo's next opponent. His guardian ghost is a nature spirit possessing tremendous power. This is Horohoro's Oversoul form. Countless ice spears charge towards Yo. Yo is forced to activate his Oversoul form to block them. A system announcement declares the official start of the match. If the Oversoul form is dispelled within the match time, the participant will be declared the loser. Horohoro launches ice spears again, but this time Yo easily blocks them with his shield and repels Horohoro with a single strike. In Yo's view, Horohoro's combat skills are too crude. Facing his ice spike attacks, Yo easily shatters them. Seeing this, Horohoro no longer holds back and prepares to unleash all his energy in a devastating final move. Suddenly, an avalanche rushes towards Yo, with Horohoro confident that this strike will completely defeat him. The immense power brings great pressure on Yo. Merely defending is a sure path to defeat, so he decides to take a risk. As the avalanche subsides, Yo disappears. Horohoro thinks he has buried Yo alive, but unexpectedly, Yo bursts out of the snow, delivering a decisive strike filled with the belief in victory. Yet Horohoro is unharmed. Yo had already noticed that Horohoro had dispelled his Oversoul. This battle is a victory for Yo. Ryunosuke celebrates Yo's first victory at home, and Horohoro joins in. His reason for wanting to become the Shaman King is simple: to help the nature spirits repair their damaged homeland. Yo finds Horohoro's dream noble and decides to help him achieve it. Fortunately, the tournament follows a double elimination format, giving Horohoro another chance. However, the joyful times are short-lived as Horohoro's sister Parika arrives, marking the end of his good days. Seeing Horohoro's miserable situation, Yo instantly feels a sense of kinship with him. This necromancer is impressive. He can turn a skeleton into a living being, ultimately transforming it into a blonde beauty. Named Faust, he is Yo's second opponent in the Shaman King preliminaries. As a necromancer, his power lies in summoning skeletons. Upon their first meeting, Faust summoned a group of skeletons that captured Manta and performed a live dissection on him. Yo managed to break free and rescue Manta, though Manta was severely injured. Furious, Yo fearlessly faced Faust's skeleton army, entering his oversoul form and instantly shattering all the skeletons. He broke through Faust's skeletal shield and inflicted serious injuries on him. However, Yo underestimated Faust's strength. The graveyard provided an endless supply of bones for Faust to command. Yo's energy rapidly depleted while Faust healed behind a wall of skeletons. Blinded by rage, Yo recklessly charged at Faust but collapsed from exhaustion halfway. Despite this, Yo refused to give up, determined to make those who hurt Manta pay. Sensing the right moment, Faust prepared to eliminate Yo. Beside him, a skeleton transformed into a flesh and blood blonde woman. His oversoul, Eliza. Anna stepped forward to help, but a stubborn Yo stopped her, insisting on defeating Faust personally. Hearing Yo call his beloved creation a mere puppet, Faust erupted in rage and commanded Eliza to attack Yo fiercely. Eliza was none other than his dearly beloved wife, who was killed by robbers. Overwhelmed by grief, Faust turned to necromancy. However, Yo believed that this did not justify Faust's reckless harming of others. Such a person, Yo argued, did not deserve to become the Shaman King. He concentrated his remaining strength at the tip of his sword and shattered Eliza with a single strike. Yo then collapsed from exhaustion, and his oversoul state was released. Yo lost the match. Once dreaming of being a lazy person, Yo felt an unprecedented unwillingness to accept defeat. He had never so strongly desired power. Although the match was over, Faust was not ready to let things go. He gathered his power into a giant skeleton that struck towards Yo. At this critical moment, a figure flashed, and the giant skeleton crumbled. Tao Ren appeared on the scene, and he was Yo's next opponent. Holding a combination weapon of a hammer and a large sword, Ren's oversoul form is extremely powerful. Ren charged at Yo, forcing him into a defensive position with his aggressive attacks. However, even when he teleported behind Yo, his attacks were still blocked. Taking advantage of a momentary lapse in Ren's focus, Yo began his counterattack, but Ren nullified it as well. Despite the intense offensive and defensive battle, Ren's energy showed no signs of depleting. He evolved his oversoul once more and charged at Yo. Facing Ren, whose energy level was higher than his own, Yo barely managed to block the attacks. Basin materialized, slammed Yo to the ground, but Yo blocked this powerful strike as well. After this round, however, there was a clear gap in their energy levels. Amidamaru, using his rich combat experience, spotted a flaw in Basin's technique. He advised Yo on how to dodge effectively, allowing Yo to deliver a decisive blow that shattered Ren's oversoul. Ren, unwilling to accept defeat, couldn't afford to lose at all costs. He summoned his mount and merged with the spirit of the strongest horse, which had once been Basin's warhorse. The fusion made him immensely powerful, equalizing his energy level with Yo's. It all came down to one final move. For the first time, Yo attempted to materialize Amidamaru to meet Ren's strongest strike. After a massive energy blast, both Ren's and Yo's energy levels dropped to 0, and they both released their oversouls. It was unclear who won. Fortunately, Silva was present. He declared the match a draw, and both advanced to the main Shaman King tournament, facing shamans from around the world, including the legendary man. Ren stays temporarily at Yo's house. As a boy bearing his family's mission, Ren experiences for the first time what it means to have friends. However, the happy times are always brief, and Ren must eventually return home to resolve matters with his family. I've never seen a father like this. He not only imprisons his own daughter but also sets hordes of zombies against his son. However, with Tao Ren's current strength, handling these zombies is not a problem. He enters his oversoul form and easily defeats several zombie soldiers until his father, Tao En, appears. The formidable Basin seems like an ant in front of him. Ren, seeing his sister imprisoned in the distance, is enraged, especially after learning that his father killed Pyron to vent his anger because Jun defended Yo and him. Ren cannot tolerate it any longer and vows to make his father pay. However, to Tao En, his own son is too weak to cause him any harm. Heartlessly, Tao En locks his children in the dungeon and subjects them to inhumane torture. Jun loses all hope, but Ren does not see it that way. This time, he is not fighting alone. At this critical moment, Basin runs to seek help from Yo. Everyone immediately heads to China upon receiving the news. After scouting by Tokagero and Amidamaru, they find the Tao family compound deserted, likely a trap. But even if what lies ahead is perilous, nothing can stop them from rescuing their friends. Upon entering the room, they are immediately confronted by 5 different zombies, each a secret weapon refined by Tao En. These zombies are incredibly fast, and Ryunosuke is quickly overwhelmed. If not for Horohoro's timely rescue, they might have all been killed on the spot. Seeing the strength of the enemy, the group prepares to fight back. Yo rushes ahead to the dungeon to rescue Ren and Jun. He initially wants them to leave quickly, but the stubborn Ren insists on defeating his own father. This has been his obsession for a long time. Ren has been raised from a young age with the ruthless doctrine of reviving the Tao family at any cost. Numerous innocent people have died because of him and his father. Only by defeating his father can he break the Tao family's distorted beliefs. Ren does not want to involve Yo. If his obsession causes Yo to get hurt, he would regret it for life. However, as a friend, how could Yo not step in to help?
Yo.
How strong are the zombies created by the martial arts master Shaman? Ryunosuke was beaten to an unknown fate, and Horohoro remains unconscious. Even the powerful Ren and Yo can only defend passively against Shaman's combination attacks because the opponent's speed is too fast for them to react. Fortunately, Jun repaired Pyron and arrived just in time. Disappointed in her father, Jun seemed transformed, no longer holding back. She resolved that her father would not hurt her or her brother again. With Jun's enchantments, Pyron's speed and strength surged. Shaman used the same deadly move that had previously defeated Pyron, but this time, Pyron dodged it. Seizing the opportunity, Pyron used his finishing move to defeat Shaman. Jun's decisive action shocked Yo, Ren, and the others, but the battle was not over yet. Tao En was waiting at the top of the tower. Tao En had been waiting for a long time. His immense stature startled everyone. With just the force of one finger, he scattered the group. Horohoro and Ryunosuke tried to counterattack in their oversoul forms, but were flicked away by Tao En's finger. Pyron attempted a sneak attack, but failed to inflict any damage. Tao En's slap rendered Pyron incapacitated. Facing his rebellious son, Tao En mercilessly attacked him. At that moment, Yo took the blow for Ren, suffering immense pain from the powerful force. All his friends had been dealt with by their father. Tao En wanted his son to face reality, but everyone stood up again to resist him. Tao En couldn't understand why these people were so foolish, willing to sacrifice themselves for others. Little did he know, friendship is the strongest force. Annoyed and embarrassed, Tao En launched a full-strength strike at his son, but in the next second, his fist passed right through Ren's body. For a long time, Ren and Jun, under their father's intimidation, were forced to resist using strength, not realizing that what they were interacting with was actually an oversoul, and this man was their real father. This person's oversoul, a dragon body, is a dragon formed by the spirits of the Tao family. Tao En's body is wrapped with tokens, as he, bearing the will of the Tao family, must always be connected with the spirits of his ancestors. This is also Tao Ren's future mission. If this rebellious son dares to defy the head of the family's will, even if it is his own son, Tao En is prepared to enforce discipline. However, Ren is fearless, having resolved to follow his own path and uphold his own beliefs. To Tao En's surprise, Basin pins the Oversoul Dragon to the ground with a punch. The duel of Oversouls is not about strength, but a contest of beliefs. Clearly, Tao En's conviction wavers. Although the outcome is determined, Tao En is still not satisfied. Just then, Ren's grandfather and mother appear and put an end to the drama. What was a life-and-death battle turns into a lavish dinner, leaving everyone bewildered and suspicious that the food might be poisoned. In reality, Ren's grandfather has long understood that the Tao family cannot continue as before, but needs to progress with the times and adopt a developmental perspective. He hopes that through this battle, Tao En can let go of his obsessions, and is also happy that Ren has so many good friends. Thus ends the journey of the Tao family. The group is set to travel to Tokyo to participate in the Shaman King tournament. On the way to Japan, Ren's father catches up and hands over the family's heirloom silver sword to Ren. This is the first time he has opened up to his son, hoping that Ren will use this sword to carve out his own future. After Yo helped Ren with his family issues, everyone finally returned to Tokyo. Only those who passed the preliminaries could participate in the main Shaman King tournament. Yo was very sad about the impending separation from his friends. Although Anna was usually harsh, she was the one who found it hardest to let go of Yo when the moment of separation came. The day of the main competition arrived. Yo, along with Ryunosuke and Horokyu, who had passed the preliminaries within a day, set off fully prepared. They didn't expect the registration site to be as crowded as a festival. The trio met Ren again, and now the four close friends were officially reunited. While waiting bored for the competition to start, they encountered an unexpected guest, Asaha Doji. The man before them, proclaiming himself the future king, was the great Onmyoji, Asaha Doji. Faced with Horokyu's defiance, Doji struck him mercilessly with a punch. Everyone was too slow to react. The massive spirit of fire overwhelmed them, making it hard to breathe. Ren, unwilling to accept this, launched a counterattack, but was easily dodged by the spirit of fire. Seeing this, Doji mocked Ren for still being impulsive. Doji also revealed that he knew about the incidents at the Tao family, claiming that as the future king, he knew everything. Not only was he personally powerful, but his followers were also highly talented. However, Doji showed particular concern for Yo, advising him to become stronger quickly before leaving. Next, the group was about to board a plane crafted by the Patch tribe's traditional techniques to travel to the competition venue. Since they were all on the same flight, Yo couldn't help but keep looking at Doji, who responded with a sunny smile. Suddenly, an announcement came from the Patch tribe chief, stating that the plane would soon vanish. The competitors would need to reach Patch Village on foot within 3 months. As soon as the announcement ended, the plane disappeared instantly, causing a moment of weightlessness that left everyone disoriented. Horokyu prepared to use his Oversoul to glide down. Unlike the others' panic, Doji used the Spirit of Fire to carry his team, mocking Yo and the others for hitching a ride, especially since Horokyu would run out of energy before reaching the ground. Fortunately, Yo and Ren remained calm. Panicking would only make things worse. Not everyone could fly like Doji. The competition was a test of who could remain calm under extreme conditions. Just before landing, everyone activated their Oversoul and survived the fall. Conveniently, they landed next to a road. Ryunosuke mentioned he still had an unused special move. With the help of a kind-hearted uncle, they reached a town to find the location of Patch Village. Instead of finding the Patch tribe, they discovered a Seminoa tribe folk song claiming the Patch tribe were demons, which confused everyone. It would be helpful to ask someone from the Seminoa tribe. Just then, a woman from the Seminoa tribe blocked their path, demanding Yo stop searching for the Patch tribe. When Ren refused, she summoned a group of dolls that attacked them. As the dolls approached, they morphed into ghosts that severed the limbs of Ren and others. However, their bodies were instantly restored. The woman told Yo and the others that the injuries were fake, but the pain was real. She explained that the pain was caused by the harms brought by the Patch tribe. Then, she pulled Yo and his group into the memories of the Seminoa tribe. 500 years ago, a member of the Patch tribe who proclaimed himself the future king demanded the submission of the Seminoa tribe. With just one move, he slaughtered the Seminoa tribe. Then he summoned the Spirit of Fire to kill the remaining people. Although his appearance was different, everyone was sure he was Doji. The woman, upon learning of Doji's existence and that they were his enemies, no longer troubled them. She even invited them to her home and shared all the information about the Patch tribe with Yo. The next day, as she watched Yo and the others leave, she felt hope for revenge for the first time. However, she would not live to see that day. The claws of the Spirit of Fire pierced her body. The moment she saw the Spirit of Fire, she knew that it was this man who had destroyed the Seminoa tribe 500 years ago. In fact, Doji's reincarnation into the Patch tribe was merely to obtain the Spirit of Fire. The Seminoa tribe was just collateral damage. But by the time the woman realized this, it was too late. The flames of the Spirit of Fire consumed both her body and soul. This boy's parents were just killed by a mysterious person. He wanted revenge, but a single look from the mysterious person shattered all his courage. Now, the boy has once again provoked the wrong people. Just moments ago, as Yo and his group resumed their search for Patch Village, they were stopped by a boy with green hair. His name is Dithil, and he wants to join Yo's team to go to Patch Village. Hirokyu, suspecting something was off, decided to test him. However, Dithil quickly launched a spirit attached to a crystal pendant towards Hirokyu. Ren stepped in to help, but both he and Hirokyu were instantly defeated by Dithil's formidable strength. Dithil thought he could now officially join Yo's team, but Yo firmly refused. He could not accept someone who harmed his friends. Dithil became desperate to join the team at any cost and, in his eagerness for approval, attacked Yo. This time, Yo was truly angered. He entered his oversoul state and shattered Dithil's pendant. Thinking Dithil would give up, Yo was surprised when Dithil, far from being angry, was actually pleased. He desperately needed a teammate like Yo. To impress Yo, he used his ultimate move. His oversoul pendant moved at the speed of light and formed a gigantic structure in the air. Dithil was frustrated that his ultimate move was so easily countered. However, Yo sensed that Dithil lost because his mind was cluttered, preventing him from fully utilizing his oversoul. Yo punched Dithil to wake him up, prompting him to reveal his past. He once had a happy family. His father was a top detective in London, and his mother was beautiful and gentle. But then, his nightmare began when Doji appeared at his home and took everything away. In front of Doji, he felt utterly insignificant. That's why Dithil was so desperate to join Yo's team, hoping to use the team's strength to defeat Doji. Since they all had the same enemy, they unanimously agreed to let Dithil join the team. Meanwhile, Yo's grandfather in Japan learned of Doji's emergence and urgently summoned Anna. He handed her a secret book capable of defeating Doji, which documented all of Doji's spells. The book contained seals for 2 powerful Shikigami, but to gain Doji's power, they had no choice but to break the seals. Anna immediately picked up the Shaman's book to learn the corresponding spells. She quickly mastered a new skill to reseal the Shikigami. Breaking the Shikigami's seal caused a backlash against Doji, but the injury was minor for him. Thus, Anna took the Shaman's book and headed to Yo's location. Meanwhile, Dithil's new spirit, being too cute, became the team's favorite, causing Kororo to become jealous and run away from home. Without Kororo, Hirokyu almost fell to his death, but luckily, a ranger saved him. After being unconscious for 3 days, Hirokyu, with a hurt leg, set out to find Kororo and Yo. He learned that a fierce brown bear was nearby, hostile towards humans due to past injuries from poachers. Far from being scared, Hirokyu, dressed in his tribe's attire, went to find the bear. The ranger thought this was suicidal. Hirokyu was not angry because, in his view, all animals are divine beings deserving of respect. It was his duty to persuade the bear to stay away from the human world and return to the deep mountains. Indeed, the bear sensed Hirokyu's sincerity and became docile. However, the poacher who had previously scarred the bear finally took its life. Enraged, Hirokyu wanted the poacher to pay, but the poacher started shooting at humans. Fortunately, Hirokyu used his ice armor to block the bullets. Despite his anger, Hirokyu did not kill the poachers. Instead, he froze them. leaving them to face legal punishment, and then quietly left. This incident strengthened Hirokyu's resolve to become the Shaman King and create a sanctuary for natural beings. After catching up and receiving a beating from Ren for straying, they set off again and reached the ruins of Patch Village. However, as soon as they entered the ruins, they were stopped by a group of people. This man with wings is a descendant of Dracula and the first of Doji's subordinates that Yo and his group have encountered. However, they also witnessed the cruelty of Doji's minions for the first time. Because his companion resembled his own vampire image, he killed him. The rest of Dracula's team calmly watched everything unfold, showing how cold-hearted Doji's subordinates could be. After dealing with his teammate, Dracula instantly attacked Dethel. Ryunosuke came to support him, but Dracula's speed was exceptional, and he even cut off Ryunosuke's new hairstyle. Dracula prepared to attack Hirokyu next, but Ryunosuke knocked Dracula away, declaring, "A head can be severed, but a hairstyle must not be messed up. Blood can flow, but spirit must not be lost." Dracula charged at Ryunosuke again, but was met with Ryunosuke's fist. The enraged Ryunosuke was unstoppable, and his guardian ghost was formidable. Dracula turned his wings into spikes and charged at Ryunosuke, who calmly countered with his Yamada no Orochi. However, the shattered blood turned into countless bats that bit Ryunosuke. Yo tried to help, but was stopped by Dethel, who had been bitten and controlled by Dracula. The group found themselves in a very passive situation. Seeing that the victory was certain, Dracula's other teammates left. Dracula revealed to the group that the one controlling Dethel was his archenemy, a vampire hunter, who had been turned into Dracula's guardian ghost under Doji's guidance. Knowing this, Yo's eyes instantly hardened, reassuring his companions not to worry about him. Facing Dracula's attack, the three surprisingly launched a counterattack without regard for Yo's safety. Consequently, Dracula ordered Dethel to kill Yo. However, Yo had already awakened the self-awareness of his guardian ghost. The understanding among friends allowed them to grasp Yo's plan early on. Under the guidance of Asakura's grandfather, Ryunosuke finally put his newly learned skills to use. Both Dracula and Ryunosuke exhausted their energy at the same time. Unlike Dracula, Ryunosuke had the support of friends. Yo prepared to ask Dracula for information about Doji. A mechanical angel pierced Dracula, and Yo could only watch as Dracula turned to ash. As the only group capable of contending with Doji, the Angel Team X-Laws did not appeal to Yo, especially their leader Marco, who constantly spoke in the name of God, but was inherently arrogant. However, there were no other options at the moment. The two squads temporarily teamed up since all members of the Angel Team were Doji's sworn enemies, making them somewhat favorable to Dethel. Just then, two of Doji's subordinates appeared. Bill charged into battle with his Oversoul against the Angel Team. Marco calmly drew his gun as the Angel Team entered combat mode. They launched 7 Mecha Angels. Their method of activating Oversoul through shooting. These powerful angels matched Doji's spirit of fire. Marco was ready to kill Bill, but Yo naturally could not stand by idly. Facing a god-level shaman, Yo knew he was outmatched, but still rushed forward bravely. In this conflict, Harusami broke again. "We cannot plan together if we do not think alike," as the saying goes. Marco, with his Angel Team, left. Meanwhile, Manta and Anna arrived at the scene. Yo was not found yet, but they encountered Doji. The clever Anna realized that Doji knew she possessed the shaman's book. In reality, Doji hoped Yo would quickly learn from the book to enhance his power, thus advancing his own plans. He was not interested in the shaman's book, but in Anna herself. Anna slapped Doji, who had to admit she had spirit. Besides his mother, no one had ever hit him like that. On another note, Yo learned about the Star Sanctuary from Bill, which was also the final trial of the first stage of the competition. The group headed towards the sanctuary, but upon stepping into the sanctuary, Yo fell into a bewildering, dreamlike world. When he awoke, he found himself in a stone chamber. Silva informed Yo that he had reached Patch Village. The Star Sanctuary's great spirit, which had caused Yo's vision, is the destination for all souls, containing the Earth's 4.6 billion years of memories. Those weak in spirit might lose their souls upon seeing the Great Spirit. Yo's strength was acknowledged by the Spirit King, and Horokyu and Ryunosuke also passed the test. Remarkably, Ren not only remained conscious upon seeing the Great Spirit, but kept staring at it. This girl is ruthless. She managed to buy a keychain worth $380 for just 380 yen, making her the ultimate bargainer. Anna's appearance truly surprised everyone. However, at that moment, a strange guy named Chocolove appeared. Ren was very wary of him, so Chocolove had to explain his purpose. The second round of the competition was a 3-on-3 team elimination match, and the survivors of this round were already dominated by 3 other teams with god-level shamans. Chocolove needed to join Yo's team to continue competing. Knowing the situation, Ren decided to let Chocolove and Horokyu join his own team. Just as things seemed to settle, Faust appeared again. As Manta's nightmare, this time Faust did not do anything bad, but instead pleaded with Yo and others to let him join the team. Faust only wanted to see his wife again, and being alone, he would be eliminated if he couldn't form a team, losing his only chance to become Shaman King and revive his wife. Anna's skills in winning people over are also very high. By letting Faust join, he would loyally serve her. Anna also had another important task during this trip: to hand over the shaman's book to Silva to help the Patch tribe fight against Doji. Silva was worried that without the shaman's book, Yo could not stand against Doji. Little did he know, Anna had already mastered the entire secret book and had even tamed Doji's Shikigami, Zenki, and Goki. The second round of the Shaman King competition officially began. Everyone flew to the venue, excited except for Ren. The entire Tao family came in full force to support him, which embarrassed Ren. According to the tournament draw, Ren's team would face Yo's team in the second round. Regardless of the opponent, Yo was determined to give his all. The Shaman King team elimination matches started, with Ren's team facing Doji's Earth team first. Ren let Chocolove handle the relatively weaker BOZ brothers while he prepared to confront the opposing team's leader. As the referee started the match, the BOZ brothers launched their powerful moves at Chocolove, thinking they had the upper hand. However, their attacks were effortlessly absorbed by Chocolove's Jaguar. Having gauged the enemy's strength, Chocolove unleashed his finishing move, knocking out the BOZ brothers instantly. Next up was the Earth team's leader, Peyote. Surprisingly, the defeated BOZ brothers stood up again, controlled by Peyote's guardian ghost, which had possessed them, catching Chocolove off guard. Facing the Boz brothers' renewed assault, Chocolove dodged easily and even prepared a sneak attack on Peyote. However, Peyote released his Calaca doll to neutralize the attack. The Calaca doll, a symbol of the Mexican Day of the Dead linking life and death, represented a unique attack style, but Chocolove did not back down. Despite this, the continuous attacks from the BOZ brothers severely injured Chocolove. He was determined not to give in, recalling his past when he witnessed his parents being shot and his life on the streets before becoming a gang member. His life changed after meeting his mentor, who not only passed on his beloved guardian ghost, Meek, but also taught him all his comedic skills. His mentor was killed in front of him by his former gang leader, which motivated Chocolove to vow never to let anyone close to him get hurt as long as he lived. To support his teammates, Chocolove used his finishing move. The attack did not harm Peyote, who was about to gloat when suddenly all his guardian ghosts uncontrollably started laughing. This is a characteristic of the smile of the wind, causing the Oversoul to go out of control. This move drained all of Chocolove's energy, leaving the rest to Ren. The power of this punch astonished Ryunosuke and the others, as Ren's energy level had reached 5,721. Even Doji couldn't help but marvel at such a rapid increase. After this battle, Chocolove earned everyone's recognition. Next up, Ren would face his opponent, Yo. Is it human nature twisted or morality lost that made this man's once firm hairstyle suddenly wilt and tears of regret flow? The Shaman King competition continues with the God-level Shaman Team XI taking the stage. Surprisingly, their leader is encased in a device called Iron Maiden. Doji, intrigued, watches the competitors, knowing that X-Law's leader Jean is inside this contraption. Another interesting fact is about Diethel, whom Doji predicted would join the X-Laws 8 years ago, which is why Ryunosuke is so heartbroken. Their opponents are the Egyptian team Niles, featuring the first mummy Khafre, Nacht, who controls pyramids and possesses infinite energy, and the Captain Anatel, who subdued 100,000 slave spirits. It's a formidable lineup that nobody would want to face. However, Jean thinks otherwise and sends Diethel to practice against the Niles team. Diethel shows no mercy, launching a powerful shuttle attack that penetrates Nacht's pyramid and shreds Khafre's mummy, the medium for his summoning. Finally, it's Captain Anatel's turn, who cannot comprehend the attack's speed and is instantly subdued, with Diethel single-handedly overturning the entire Niles team. Diethel has evidently grown much during this period. Fortunately, Diethel spares their lives, relieving Yo, Ryunosuke, and others. Anatel refuses to admit defeat, unleashing his Oversoul, Wings of the Dead, where spiritual feathers enter the body through breath, causing death. Diethel, controlling a pendant, prepares to end Anatel for good, but the pendant stops just before him. Diethel's guardian ghost looks on disappointedly at Diethel, blinded by vengeance. Jean can't stand it anymore. Such a Diethel does not deserve to be in X-Laws. God-level energy emanates, causing Anna's prayer beads to vibrate. As the chains unlock, the legendary leader of the X-Laws, the God-level sorceress Jean, finally unveils herself. Such a sweet-looking young girl has been confining herself in a terrifying spiked device, enduring endless pain to atone for the sins of a wicked world in hopes of achieving global peace. At this moment, Marco is moved to tears, whereas their opponent Anatel remains emotionally unswayed, focused only on defeating Jean and winning the match. Yet, Jean instantly traps Anatel in an iron cage with her oversoul, Shamash, the god of justice who bestowed the first laws upon humanity. Jean urges the remaining 2 members of the Niles team to concede defeat, but they recklessly charge at her. Jean advises them to surrender again, but they choose death over submission. Jean reluctantly returns to the Iron Maiden. The second match of the Shaman King elimination round ends in such a brutal manner. How can such a sweet girl be so ruthless? Is the justice that the X-Laws uphold truly just? Yo doesn't know. All he knows is that if there is to be a Shaman King, it seems he must take on the role himself. Next up is Yo's team's turn to take the stage. Their opponents are the Icemen team from Russia, featuring Zora, who can summon the mythical water sprite, Pino, who can summon the god of ravens, and the berserker Gunderson, whose medium is a Viking helmet. The opponents are clearly strong, but Yo and his team are full of confidence. It's time to show the results of their 2 months of training. Look at this 40-meter-long katana. When Yo entered his new Oversoul form, everyone around was stunned, except for Doji, who had anticipated this development. The Asaha family's ancestral sword and the shaman's book were brought out. Of course, the most important aspects were Yo's learning ability and Amidamaru's will, enabling him to transform from an ordinary ghost into the spirit of the sword, a transformation rarely seen in the ghost world. As the referee announced the start of the match, the Icemen team charged at Faust, who appeared to be the weakest. Unexpectedly, Faust, who had lost his legs while healing his beloved, now stood on prosthetic legs made from his pet dog's skeleton. Moreover, the previously soulless Eliza started speaking. The Icemen team, having never seen such a bizarre shaman, was eager to eliminate this necromancer and unhesitatingly unleashed their combined finishing move, shooting numerous ice spikes. Faust shielded his guardian ghost with his own body, bewildering the Icemen team with his madness. They then prepared to target Yo. At this moment, Faust became furious, declaring that no one could harm Yo unless he was dead. 2 months earlier, Yo and Anna had invited Faust to work at their inn in exchange for Anna helping him summon his wife's spirit and teaching him the shaman's book. Faust grasped the essence of necromancy, creating an ultimate oversoul by referencing his ancestors' masterwork, the artificial demon, making Eliza immortal. Proud of his creation, Faust put immense pressure on the Icemen team's leader, Pino. However, Pino quickly regained his composure, knowing a druid must maintain strong convictions. He launched an ice spike attack at Yo, but Ryunosuke sacrificially intercepted it. The Icemen team's morale took another hit when Ryunosuke's burning energy melted their absolute 0-degree ice seal. Their ice spike attack was blocked again, but this was a diversion, covering for Pino's sneak attack. Ryunosuke effortlessly shattered the ice and threw Pino out. Ryunosuke and Faust didn't attack because Yo had ordered them not to, but that didn't mean they were easy targets. With Yo's two subordinates being so formidable, it was clear Yo's power had soared. Feeling insulted by Yo, Pino launched an ice spike attack at him. This time, no one stepped in to block the attack for Yo, yet none of the attacks could harm him. Yo stood still, allowing the opponent to attack. When the Icemen team launched their strongest strike, Yo opened his arms to meet it, remaining unharmed. Anna explained that Yo used his soft energy to block the Icemen's energy. Seeing Yo's performance, Pino had a realization. He prepared to use all his energy, ready to face defeat without regrets. The Icemen team unleashed their ultimate combined technique, creating an iceberg above the arena. The iceberg dove towards Yo, who charged up and delivered his strongest blow, perfectly ending the match. Yo's surge in power put pressure on Ren. The shaman's book was indeed as legendary as rumored. However, just then, the creator of this ancient text appeared. What kind of power is this that turns an indestructible artifact into dust in an instant? Faced with Ren, who just refused to join his team, Doji uses a minor trick to plunge Ren into deep fear. Meanwhile, after the match, Yo finds Daethel and asks him how he is doing in the Angel team. Although Daethel doesn't say much, the observant Yo senses that Daethel is not doing well. However, as Yo prepares to leave, Marco, leading the Angel team, surrounds him. Marco not only treats Daethel harshly, but also accuses Yo of being a spy sent by Doji. Just as Marco is about to strike, Jean stops him. Jean highly regards Yo's strength and hopes he will join her team to fight against Doji, but Yo declines. This deeply saddens Jean. Marco is ready to vent his leader's frustration, but Yo now possesses great power. With Jean's intervention, both sides stand down. Let all disputes be settled in tomorrow's match. The next day's match featured a heavyweight showdown. The X-Law's X3 team versus Doji's Team Star. Faced with the formidable challengers, Doji had his subordinates forfeit directly to increase the challenge of the match. He expressed a desire to have all members of X-Laws take the stage, which infuriated the X3 team as they had never encountered such arrogance. As they activated their oversouls, the trio summoned divine mechanical angels, each with over 8,000 power. However, Doji found it boring. Facing their aggressive attack, Doji summoned the Spirit of Fire and instantly dispersed the enemy, instantly killing Min. The remaining members of the X3 team emotionlessly watched their companion turn to ashes, then launched a second attack. Seben summoned a mechanical angel and charged at Doji, only to be instantly killed by the Spirit of Fire again. Daethel knew they weren't insensitive, but were risking their lives to find Doji's weakness. X3 team captain Chris, despite severe injuries, discovered the fatal weakness of the Spirit of Fire. It relies on oxygen as a medium for summoning. However, Doji seemed unconcerned about this. Why is that? This grenade has the power equivalent to a nuclear bomb. The X3 team captain plans to use it to die together with Doji. Doji, however, does not respond and quietly watches his performance. A strong barrier ensures that the explosion does not affect the audience. Although thick smoke billows, Yo senses that Doji has not died. More surprisingly, Doji's Spirit of Fire has disappeared, replaced by a Spirit of Rain. No wonder Doji was unconcerned about Chris discovering his weakness. As the strongest Onmyoji, Doji mastered the essence of the 5 elements centuries ago and achieved the ability to switch between them at will. 500 years ago, to obtain the ultimate oversoul, Spirit of Fire, Doji intentionally reincarnated into the Patch Tribe. After acquiring the Spirit of Fire, he combined Onmyodo and Oversoul to freely switch spirit attributes, becoming the great Onmyoji Asaha Doji. From the surname Asaha, everyone learned of the connection between Doji and Yo. Yo was not intentionally hiding this. At this moment, Doji's energy level is at least 1.2 million. He did not want his friends to risk their lives for him. Doji's strength left everyone present feeling hopeless. Yet this was not the end. The mere destruction of the body could not demonstrate his majesty. Doji summoned the souls of the 10 team members, not willing to waste such excellent spirits. The match was temporarily halted due to damage to the arena. Silva found the host and obtained Doji's match recordings, hoping to find a way to defeat him. At the same time, another group was also taking action to defeat Doji. Yo's parents unexpectedly visited Ren's grandfather. Representing the Asaha family, they sought help from the Tao family, hoping that Ren could learn the Shaman's Book to assist the Asaha family in combating Doji. However, Ren, being a prodigy of the Tao family, was intensively trained by Tao En, who would only agree if Yo's father, Asakura Mikihisa, could defeat him. The duel between the fathers ended with Tao En's defeat. Next, they would need to win over Ren. This is a divine weapon that merges countless arms, Ren's latest Oversoul. Mikihisa tried to take him as a disciple but was rejected, which is understandable given Ren's pride as a genius unwilling to be taught by someone from the Asaha family. Seizing this opportunity, Mikihisa tested the power of the divine artifact, the Silver Sword. He summoned a Shikigami and attacked Ren, with the Silver Sword forming an array of thousands of weapons that crushed the Shikigami to dust. Armed with the Silver Sword, which combines thousands of blades, and the Ghost of Basin, who fought battles 1800 years ago, Ren was significantly empowered. However, an unexpected turn occurred when Mikihisa and his Shikigami reappeared. In his eyes, Ren's strength was unimpressive. Mikihisa's speed dumbfounded Ren, who activated the Silver Sword to create distance, followed by a barrage of attacks. Mikihisa easily countered, and with a single strike sent Ren flying. After being injured by an infant Doji years ago, Mikihisa underwent rigorous training, challenging mountain after mountain to forge his will, and eventually climbed Mount Everest using only his physical strength. Such prowess was not something the current Ren could overcome. Ren was expected to obediently learn the Shaman's Book, but the stubborn young man refused. Thus, these two unsympathetic individuals watched Ren get beaten while enjoying their barbecue. Ren knew there were many competitors stronger than him in the tournament, but admitting weakness meant losing sight of victory. Therefore, Ren would rather die than admit defeat. Mikihisa, impressed by his friend Yo, planned to teach a few people the Shaman's Book, but first, he had to deal with a few unwelcome guests. This woman is ruthless. She knocked a poor little boy away and wasn't done yet. She wanted the souls of these two children to completely dismantle Mikihisa's team and prevent him from participating in the Shaman King tournament. At this critical moment, a figure kicked away the guardian ghost, revealing it was Anna and Jun, who had rushed to the scene after receiving a message from Silva. On the other side, two traitors from the Patch Tribe, along with Peyote and others, surrounded Mikihisa. Although Ren helped distract them, allowing Mikihisa to retreat, he didn't have time to rescue Redzeb and Seirarm. Fortunately, Silva had received early information and notified Yo and Anna, temporarily resolving the crisis. Ren fought against 3 enemies alone. Zhang Qing's Oversoul was a panda, but Ren didn't care what it was. Seeing Zhang Qing injured, Tabarsi immediately released a laser cannon, which surprisingly missed Ren and allowed him to counterattack. Ren, a true genius, learned some Shaman's Book spells from Mikihisa during the fight, although these spells were only basic ones which they had already learned from Doji. Ren seemed to have won, but he actually caused no harm to the others. Moreover, Ren was shocked to learn that a Patch Tribe priest named Nikram was the brother of a Patch Tribe examiner he had once killed. While Ren was distracted, a long sword pierced through his body, and he fell into a pool of blood, attacked by Peyote's new Oversoul. Hirokyu and Chocolove, in shock, realized this attack could take Ren's life. They desperately wished Ren could rise again, but they were no match for Peyote and his allies. Even their strongest moves seemed trivial to the opponents. Horokyu did his best to block Tabarsi's attack and used his remaining energy to freeze Ren's wound. Somehow, they must find a way to save Ren quickly. But can the two escape successfully? The boy's chest was pierced by a huge blade, leaving his life hanging in the balance. Horokyu froze Ren's wound and prepared to join forces with Chocolove to fight the enemy, hoping to defeat them quickly and take Ren to the hospital. However, reality harshly shattered their illusion. They were too weak. Zhang Qing easily defeated them, and Nikram further taunted them by revealing that Horokyu and the others had a mere 2,000 energy points, not even enough to qualify for the Shaman King tournament. Shocked and speechless, they were filled with humiliation and frustration. Zhang Qing, having had his fun, was ready to kill them both when suddenly, it seemed as if Doji appeared before him. But it was actually Yo. Seeing Ren severely injured, Yo knew it was Nikram's distraction that caused it. Ren was no longer the merciless killer he once was. Nikram, unwilling to give up, ordered Peyote and others to quickly kill Yo. However, Peyote was no fool. They knew they were no match for Yo, especially with two strong men glaring at them from the sidelines. Nikram fled in terror. Just when it seemed Ren might be saved, Faust declared that Ren's severe injuries were beyond even divine help. Horokyu could not accept his friend's death or Yo's apparent indifference, not knowing Yo had already made his own plans. Several kilometers away, in a luxury car, Manta was extremely nervous, his fear stemming from a girl sitting in the back seat. On the other side, Anna and Kana, two beautiful women, faced off against each other. However, Anna did not rush to attack. Instead, she let Jun warm up first. Kana's guardian ghost was an armored knight, but their guardian ghosts were not on the same level. One moment, the armored knight was formidable. The next, it was reduced to scrap metal by Pyron. After Pyron was severely dismantled by Tao En, Jun not only repaired Pyron, but also used mechanical technology to enhance its physical body. This added extra mechanical impact to Pyron's original moves, multiplying the damage. However, such modifications, which went against the spirit of martial artists, truly displeased Pyron. Doji's subordinates were not so easy to deal with. Now it's time to see how Kana will retaliate. This man has experienced thousands of years of life and death reincarnations, boosting his energy to as high as 1.25 million. In order to increase her power, this adorable girl even dared to enter a torture device full of spikes, pushing herself close to death. For a shaman, the closer to death, the easier it is to transform. Jean is certain that if Ren survives this ordeal, his energy will increase by at least 50,000. However, as the price for reviving Ren, Yo must withdraw from the Shaman King competition. Clearly, no one understands Yo's actions, but both parties have no choice. Yo cannot stand by and watch Ren die, and Jean cannot allow Doji to consume Yo and grow even stronger. Thus, Yo's withdrawal is a temporary measure. Just like that, Yo officially withdrew from the Shaman King competition. With the competition's start time approaching, Doji's flower team becomes increasingly aggressive. A battle is imminent. However, the girls of the flower team never expected that Tamao's two guardian ghosts would turn out to be perverts, which is truly embarrassing. This infuriates the members of the flower team, who prepare to seriously teach them a lesson. Meanwhile, Anna chooses not to linger in battle. She has a bad feeling and must meet up with Yo quickly, leaving the rest to Tamao and Jun. Anna urgently took the siblings to the competition venue. She noticed that Seirarm, her sister, had a vacant look and had not spoken a word from the beginning. It turned out that 3 years ago, their father was murdered by an unknown assailant, and Seirarm, the only witness, developed autism due to the trauma. Red Seb joined the Shaman King competition to find his father's killer and help his sister recover. They were not shamans. Their participation was made possible by an invincible golem left by their father. Seirarm called out to the sky, summoning a huge golem that descended from above, allowing the siblings to make it to the competition on time. Meanwhile, Jun and Tamao were not as fortunate, as Kana and the others' strength far exceeded their expectations. This cat is 1,000 years old. His name is Matamun. He followed Doji to the Asaha family 10,000 years ago and has lived there ever since. Now he is accompanying Yo to Mount Osore to meet Yo's fiancée, Ana. Although it is their first meeting, Matamune immediately sees that Yo, despite his cheerful appearance, is incredibly lonely inside. Yo's identity and the mission he carries unconsciously distance him from his classmates. Therefore, Yo is somewhat excited about meeting Ana, knowing she could unlock his heart. Mount Osore, one of Japan's 3 most haunted mountains, is shrouded in sulfuric steam, making it a fearsome place. However, it is believed to be where the spirits of the dead return, facilitating better communication with them. Yo finds this chilling, yet Matamun learned it from a tourist brochure, so its true nature remains to be seen. Yo's grandmother, a shaman, lives in the cold region of Shimokita. Matamun last saw her 50 years ago and plans to revisit old times with her. Before leaving, Matamun advises Yo to always stay true to himself. Yo has many questions, and as he runs after Matamun, a cute girl appears before him. Yo's timid look infuriates Ana, making her question how such a person could be her husband. Yo's confusion deepens as Ana looks down on him. At that moment, a blue demon emerges from the water, intent on devouring Yo. Yo runs, attempting to use his signature skill, which fails to harm the demon. Frightened, Yo nearly wets himself, but Matamun arrives just in time. Remaining calm, he informs Yo that the blue demon is a malevolent spirit, but with his presence, there is no need to worry. Ana watches from the side. Matamune does not reveal the origins of the evil spirit, but instead comforts a frightened Yo. This man was Asaha Doji, the strongest onmyoji from 1,000 years ago, when Matamun, a common kitten who could see spirits, first met Doji. Doji took pity on him and kept him by his side. The pendant, infused with Doji's power, allowed Matamun to transform into human form. Through his time with Doji, Matamun learned that Doji mastered all forms of divination and witchcraft, feared by demons and spirits alike, yet he had a very kind heart. Doji possessed a gift called Reishi, which allowed him to grasp others' emotions and movements effortlessly without seeing or hearing them. However, the stronger this power, the more he was forced to absorb the thoughts of others, including intense hatred and resentment which corroded his spirit, eventually giving rise to an evil spirit within him. In the chaotic era 1,000 years ago, with greedy nobles and suffering commoners, Doji saw too much darkness and decided to become the Shaman King to destroy the world. Yo's grandmother thought Doji's actions were merely acts of cowardice, believing that true strength should change the world, not destroy it. Matamune, knowing this, joined forces with Asaha Yoken in the Shaman King competition 500 years ago to kill Doji. Matamune still deeply regrets killing his benefactor. Fortunately, now he has a chance to help Yo, who represents Doji's kind reincarnation, and Ana, who also has the Reishi gift, to finally resolve his 1,000-year bond. The evil spirit Yo had encountered was actually summoned by Ana's Reishi gift, though at the time, neither Yo nor Ana knew this. Yo's grandmother believed that only together could Yo and Ana create miracles. When Yo met Ana again, he rashly questioned her about the encounter with the evil spirit, which led to Ana slapping him and then telling him to quickly leave Mount Osore before she turned and walked away. However, when Yo followed her, a shocking scene unfolded. Numerous spirits converged upon Ana, ultimately forming a massive evil spirit. The spirit immediately attacked Yo upon noticing him. Unexpectedly, the spirit, which was supposed to be incorporeal, could shatter physical objects. The shopkeeper, unable to see the spirit, thought Yo had damaged his store and prepared to deal with him. Meanwhile, the evil spirit attacked both of them indiscriminately. Ana knew Yo was no match for the powerful spirit, but Yo, fearless, confronted the spirit, thinking only an evil spirit could fight another. Why is this person so foolish? To risk his life for strangers? Ana wondered. As Ana cried out, the evil spirit turned to ashes, leaving her stunned. What just happened? This girl has the innate ability to summon massive evil spirits. Her curse-like power makes her isolated because she possesses the same ability as the Onmyoji Doji. Ana can see into people's hearts and materialize various grudges into evil spirits through her Reishi power. Not wanting others to be harmed because of her, she stays at Yo's grandmother's house. Although Yo does not have reishi, he understands Anna's pain and cannot bear to see her suffer alone. Anna initially wanted to question Yo's motives, but the atmosphere changed subtly when she realized Yo's feelings for her. She knew Yo liked her and wanted her to overcome her pain. Yo, determined to become the Shaman King, vows to do everything to help Anna break free from her troubles. To cheer her up, Yo decides to take Anna to a temple fair to relax. However, this decision leads to trouble. Human New Year prayers are essentially expressions of inner desires. In tough economic times, these desires intensify, potentially giving rise to a big ghost. Yo's grandmother is extremely worried, but Matamun sees this as the best opportunity to resolve emotional issues. Indeed, numerous stray thoughts invade Anna, giving rise to many evil spirits. Matamun arrives just in time to protect them, but he underestimates Anna's energy. As the stray thoughts increase, the evil spirits start devouring each other. Being too close to Mount Osore, countless resentful spirits are attracted and merge into the evil spirits, rapidly increasing their strength and eventually forming a big ghost. The big ghost moves swiftly, knocking Matamun back with a single punch, overpowering even him. Since the evil spirit originates from Anna, Yo hopes that by thinking happy thoughts, she can disperse the evil spirit as before. Fortunately, Matamun was not injured. This big ghost had amassed 1,080 souls, and Matamun's remaining energy was dwindling. He had to make a desperate move. With the help of the shaman's book, Matamun and the big ghost fought back and forth. However, Anna sensed that Matamun's energy was rapidly depleting. Matamun needed to resolve the situation with the big ghost quickly. He thought his next strike would be decisive, but the big ghost amputated its arm to survive and captured Anna, the source of its power, planning to use her to further increase its strength. The evil spirit rushed towards Mount Osore. If the big ghost reached there, everything would be over, as the spirits there could evolve it to a divine level. The situation was critical. Yo and Matamuni had to stop the big ghost immediately. However, heavy snow had closed the paths to Mount Osore, making it inaccessible to humans. Yo was frantic, but luckily, he met the owner of a general store at the fair who managed to get a snowmobile. He took them to Mount Osore, where the big ghost had been waiting. Its injuries had fully healed, and its power had greatly increased. More surprisingly, Anna had begun to despair. She despised humanity and did not want anyone near her. The resentment that had built up inside her over time erupted, much like Asaha Doji years ago. Faced with the big ghost's attack, Matamun was resolute, while Yo was in immense pain. Yo activated a possession fusion, drawing on the shaman's book. The big ghost, disdainful, prepared to kill Yo. However, Yo swiftly severed the big ghost's hand with a single strike. Yo was not triumphant because the cost of such power was the permanent loss of Matamun. For 1,000 years, due to the energy of Doji, Matamun's soul was immortal, but energy inevitably depletes. The battle with the big ghost caused Matamun's energy to rapidly decline. To defeat the big ghost, Matamun had to merge with Yo. Previously, Matamun had failed to keep his promise. Now, he had a chance to help Yo retrieve Anna, resolving a long-standing issue. Anna watched Yo, shocked. Why would someone willingly sacrifice their life for her? The big ghost, craving power, fueled Anna's negative emotions. However, Anna had an epiphany and confessed her feelings to Yo. In a rage, the big ghost launched a lethal attack towards Anna. In this critical moment, Yo cleared all the lesser spirits. With little energy left, it was time to annihilate the big ghost and also to say goodbye to Matamun. Yo vowed that one day he would acquire the same power as the man who could resurrect Matamun. The big ghost turned to ash. This was Yo's first encounter with Oversoul, marking the start of his quest for power. The big ghost transformed into numerous spirit beads, which Yo's grandmother later fashioned into a charm for Anna. Yo also kept Matamun's pendant. After the turmoil, Yo prepared to return to Tokyo. Just before he left, his grandmother handed him a letter. As Yo hesitated to open it, Anna appeared. Having resolved her emotional issues, She was ready to start a new life and specifically came to thank Yo for his help before getting off the car. Yo then opened the letter, which contained a poem written by Madamoon. This girl was preparing to resurrect the body in front of her through a kiss. However, just as Jin was about to cast the spell, Ryunosuke burst in. Ryunosuke thought John was giving the kiss, but it was actually Shamash. Ren was successfully resurrected, but instead of thanking John, he accused her of meddling. Seeing his boss being mistreated, Marco summoned an angel to take down this arrogant young man. Ren felt his energy increase 100-fold, but even with his newfound strength, Yo had to keep his promise to withdraw from the Shaman King tournament. However, Yo was facing a dire situation. He withdrew from the contest to save Ren, which Anna expected. She admired this about Yo, yet she was upset he didn't consult her first, and a scolding was inevitable. Just as Anna left, Ren reappeared. Seeing Ren alive filled Yo with joy. This brush with death helped Ren cut ties with his past. Ren thanked Yo for giving him a second chance at life, and vowed to become a better person with this bond. Meanwhile, Hirokyu and Chocolove encountered Doji's subordinate, Bill, who intended to kill the members of the Icemen team as a sacrifice to the spirit of fire. Hirokyu wanted to help the Icemen team, but after fighting with the X-Laws, Bill and his mysterious ally Brocken had become much stronger, with an energy level of 200,000 compared to Hirokyu's 2,000. Still, Hirokyu charged forward without hesitation. To Bill, Hirokyu's actions seemed more foolish than brave. The real gap in strength wasn't something a few catchy slogans could overcome. Bill quickly overpowered the Icemen team and Hirokyu. Watching from afar, Hirokyu's father saw everything but refused to intervene, despite Parika's pleas. Planning to leave the island, Hirokyu's father attracted Bill's attention, who thought he could kill this powerful man as an offering to Doji. However, Hirokyu's father easily defeated him with his spirit, and then sailed off into the ocean on a raft. Seeing the situation turning sour, Brocken prepared for a quick battle by initiating a possession fusion. Facing Brocken, whose energy was hundreds of times his own, could Hirokyu escape unscathed? This is a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex made of Lego pieces. However, facing Brocken, whose energy was hundreds of times his own, Hirokyu was fearless. The area had turned into a vast icy world, all with ice attributes. Hirokyu transformed the Icemen team's guardian ghosts into natural spirits, temporarily using them for himself. Hirokyu understood the risk of mental breakdown from forcibly increasing his energy, but this was his only chance to defeat Brocken. Brocken charged forward in his Lego dinosaur. Hirokyu's attacks had no effect on him. So, Hirokyu summoned a second Oversoul, a huge water column that surged towards Brocken, followed by a third Oversoul, turning the water into countless ice blades, shattering the Lego dinosaur. Hirokyu's rapid progress was impressive, but it still did not bridge the gap in energy. Brocken then reassembled into a giant Lego tank. Hirokyu's skills were linked seamlessly. From the moment he froze the entire beach, he had planned to push Brocken into the sea. Brocken was trapped in ice, but this exhausted Hirokyu's last bit of energy. The perfect blend of power and wisdom astonished the onlookers. Turns out, Brocken's Oversoul was made up of countless mice. Just then, as Bill woke up and tried to sneak attack Hirokyu, Dethel intervened and saved him. Before Bill woke up, Dethel, now a member of the Angel team, had received his own angel and was excited to test its power. He saw Bill preparing the sneak attack and eliminated him. Peyote and others found Bill's body, taking it as a provocation against Doji. At this time, Yo and his team were planning their next moves for the Shaman King tournament, when they received unexpected visitors. Peyote was ready to wipe them out, but Ryunosuke was not one to back down easily. Yo, not wanting to entangle with Doji's men outside the tournament, instructed Eliza to lead the group to escape. Zhang Qing attempted a sneak attack but was easily defeated by Ren. Ignoring Yo's advice, Ryunosuke decided to wipe out the Earth team, but they were not going to give up easily. Yo received information from Amidamaru that Ryunosuke hadn't joined them but was entangled with the Earth team. However, Peyote's new oversoul was too strong and quickly overpowered Ryunosuke. In a state of unconsciousness, Ryunosuke seemed to enter a heavenly world filled with majestic Buddhas. He made a wish to find a wife as good as Anna before he died. It seemed Buddha heard his prayer as a female bodhisattva descended from the sky, defeating Peyote's oversoul with a single punch. Not only did the bodhisattva appear, but she was accompanied by countless Buddhas, making up the powerful Gandhara team, capable of rivaling Doji and Jan. Ryunosuke was astounded, and even more so when the bodhisattva knew his real name. Gandhara's leader, Sati, initially did not want to get involved in senseless conflicts. She intervened because she sensed Yo's compassionate heart. Seeing the situation turn against him, Peyote immediately fled. Elsewhere, Chocolove went to the suburbs alone, hoping to catch up with his former brothers. To his shock, he found that all his friends had been killed. The murderers turned out to be Red Seb and Seirarm, who were controlling a golem, and insisted that the killers of their father were Chocolove and his brothers. Not only the shamans made progress in the Shaman King tournament, but the strength of the golems also increased, even gaining reishi abilities similar to those of Doji and Anna. When the golem detected the thoughts of Chocolove and his group and identified them as the murderers, it disregarded Mikihisa's attempts to stop it and went for revenge. With his last breath, Mikihisa summoned a Shikigami to inform Yo to aid Chocolove. The golem's attacks were relentless, but Chocolove, using his speed advantage, managed to smash the golem to pieces. Regretting that he had killed their father, Chocolove realized it was because their father had killed his brothers first. Despite being shattered, the golem's power was formidable as it began to auto-repair. Watching the massive golem reassemble, Chocolove could only give a wry smile. This is a golem from 5,000 years ago, whose every attack shakes the earth. However, it cannot inflict any damage on Yo. Yo believes that since Redseb has killed Chocolove and completed his revenge, he should stop there. But Redseb thinks his sister has not yet returned to normal, suggesting Chocolove might not be completely dead. He is half right. Chocolove's physical body is indeed dead, but his soul likely still clings to it. Ryunosuke takes the bodies of Chocolove and the others to seek help from Gandhara. Redseb activates the golem to kill Yo, but Yo is not one to be slaughtered easily. This is the first time someone has emerged unscathed from Yo's attacks, showing the terrifying strength of the current golem. Fortunately, the golem's attacks are linear, making them easy for Yo to dodge. As Yo pressed forward, Seirarm, the sister, switched the golem to flight mode and began indiscriminate bombing of the ground. It seemed Yo was turned to ash, but with the help of Spirit of Sword, Yo managed to sever the golem's head with a single strike. When will this cycle of vengeance end? Overcome by rage, Redseb finally came to his senses and regretted the blood on his hands. This is a new form of the golem, one that even Redseb has never seen before. Yet Yo remains calm. He summons Amidamaru to soften the impact of his fall. At this point, Yo is bleeding profusely, indicating a need to retreat as his injuries are more severe than anticipated. With a clear mind, Yo recalls the resurrections of Ren and Ryunosuke. If Jin and Sati can accomplish that, then so can Yo. Just then, Seirarm locates Yo's hiding place through the golem and switches it to a new combat mode, preparing to eliminate Yo. An invincible golem with 550,000 energy points is like a toy in the hands of Spirit of Fire. Doji plans to take control of the golem, aiming for the ultimate evolution by having Spirit of Fire devour it. Yo is surprised by Doji's appearance, but the safety of ordinary people is his priority. All of Doji's subordinates arrive, surrounding Yo and Redseb. Delighted with acquiring the golem, Doji reveals its secret. Redseb can control the golem because it possesses advanced energy storage capabilities, a rare technology akin to a battery, giving the golem an impressive 550,000 energy points. Surprisingly, the real controller of the golem turns out to be their father's spirit. The golem managed to inflict some damage on the Spirit of Fire, but that was all. As Redseb's friend, Yo would not allow Doji to harm the golem. However, at this moment, Yo couldn't even defeat Zhang Qing or Peyote, let alone Doji. This was the reality of their power difference. Doji advised his brother not to meddle and then ordered the spirit of fire to devour the golem. Yet Yo was not about to let Doji succeed and launched an attack using his last bit of energy. Enraged, Doji was about to punish Yo when Dethel appeared and snatched the golem away. Horokyu and Ren restrained Doji's subordinates. Dethel had witnessed Chocolove being killed but did not intervene because Doji had killed his own parents. He deeply empathized with Redseb's feelings. However, a conversation between Yo and Redseb made him realize that endless vengeance is pointless. Valuing present friendships over seeking revenge held more meaning. Thus, risking everything, he called on Ren and others to help. Unfortunately, Doji hardly cared for the few in front of him, unable to comprehend their foolish friendships. As the strongest Oversoul, the Spirit of Fire consumes 330,000 energy points per summon. Doji himself has over 1,250,000 energy points, allowing him to summon such a powerful Oversoul 3 times. Camel, operating a golem with 550,000 energy points, feels powerless because his deep obsession with his golem research at the time of his death has turned him into an earthbound spirit. He is completely unaware of Redseb's presence. Yo believes that Redseb can awaken his father, but it will take some time. During this period, Yo and his friends will buy time for Redseb. Doji quickly recognizes that Yo's spirit sword is inspired by Masamune, which evokes a rare sense of melancholy in him. To everyone's surprise, Doji then leaves. He is a truly unpredictable man. Although Doji has left, the golem crisis is not over. Camel, having lost his self-awareness, attacks Yo and others. Camel and Mikihisa were old friends who hit it off immediately. Camel knew his research was very dangerous and could eventually lead to his death. Thus, he asked Mikihisa to look after his children after he died. Now, with Mikihisa severely injured, Yo must take over. Currently, Yo is seriously injured and must flee with Dethel's help. The golem, needing a soul to restore energy, relentlessly pursues them. Everyone believes that Camel has completely succumbed to evil, but Redseb is convinced that his father would not be so heartless. He is prepared to use his own life to awaken his father. Ren instructs Dethel to stop, planning for everyone to escape if Redseb fails, with himself staying behind to cover their retreat. The golem's energy is running low. Despite Redseb's calls, Camel still launches an attack. Shockingly, a terrifying laser is deflected by a giant figure, who turns out to be Chocolove, previously thought dead. Facing Camel, Chocolove calmly admits he was the one who killed him years ago. Unable to accept his own death, Camel roars and charges at Chocolove, intent on making him vanish. However, even without using Oversoul, Chocolove dodges and attacks the golem. Ren quickly notices the intricacy of the situation. The entire battle area is filled with a web-like energy net. Chocolove moves freely on this net, which is generated by his summoned Oversoul. Everyone meets Chocolove's master for the first time. He explains that Chocolove was once terrified of the dark and strayed into many misdeeds. Fortunately, meeting Yo and his friends brought him back from the brink of death, with a sincere soul ready to atone for his sins. Chocolove then activates a dual Oversoul for a finishing move. Chocolove's strongest attack still fails to disable the golem. The golem has high defensive and attack power, while Chocolove is fast. The battle quickly escalates into an intense clash between two resilient souls. However, just then, their most powerful strikes are interrupted by Zenki and Goki. Anna wakes up Yo, who was pretending to be dead, declaring that the farce must end. Camel regains consciousness, feeling deeply guilty as he looks at his son, Redseb. He regrets not spending enough time with his children due to his obsession with his research on the golem, which almost led him to kill his own son after his death. He feels he can never forgive himself and considers destroying the golem and himself as the only way out. However, Anna will not allow Camel to do this. She insists on keeping the golem to defeat Doji and argues that the children still need their father's presence. It's time for him to atone for his lifetime of mistakes. Meanwhile, Opacho, who has the ability to read minds, cannot understand Doji's motives. He cannot fathom why Doji would pass up the opportunity to become an entity like the Great Spirit by letting the Spirit of Fire devour the golem. It turns out Doji abandoned the golem for Yo's sake, recognizing his brother's weakness. The golem could assist Yo, and Doji hopes that when Matamune returns one day, Yo will also be there to witness their reunion. With Camel joining, Yo's team grows stronger, and it seems every lost soul finds its way back. Having experienced life and death, Chocolove has grown not only in power, but also in spirit, far beyond his past self. Yo learns from Ryunosuke that when Chocolove was resurrected, he voluntarily asked Gandara to take away his sight as a form of atonement for his past. Chocolove hopes that one day, with the wind of his smile, he can melt the iceberg in Sirarm's heart and restore the smile to the girl he once hurt.